commemorating.com, and they'll be able to dial in or just kind of see from there. So first off, thank you guys so much for taking your time to invest in yourself. We've had to adapt a little bit on how we're all playing in the space, especially with Creative Vibes Only. This is something we've been doing, I want to say since 2017, 2018 now. This is the first time we've done it digitally. We had today scheduled here in New York City. And we also had the 29th, which is I think Sunday, scheduled in Washington, DC. But because of COVID, we're all here at home doing our thing. So we still wanted to be able to provide different tools and resources to the creative community, those that want to grow their brand and their career. And that's what we're here for. And so today, as you see just quickly on this agenda, you see some of the things that we're going to cover, like goal setting and intention setting, understanding and building your brand, developing a solid content and storytelling narrative, and establishing your digital footprint and making it work for you, along with daily accountability that we could add into this as well to just kind of bring it full circle. We also do have some amazing women that we will be featuring today. Grammy Award-Winning singer, songwriter, one of the most amazing people I know, Bridget Kelly, joining us live from LA, and also a really, really good friend, unofficial mentor. I look up to her for a lot of stuff she does and how she's built her business. And now she's on her, second or third venture. Sharifa Murdock, co-founder of Liberty Fairs and chief visionary officer of Envsn, which is now, I think, in its second year. So yeah, let's just dive right in. Our mission, just for context, with Creative Vibes Only is to equip and empower the creative community and those aspiring with the tangible tools and developmental resources to advance the business of your career, and the wellness of that, expand your brand, and monetize your value. And so for me, right, before we just really kind of dive in, I want to give everybody that's participating about 60 seconds. Think about why you're here. Think about what made you subscribe and just even sign up for this, for Creative Vibes Only. And let's take a quick moment to set your intentions. And also, just for the rest of the time, if you have a pad, a pen, and a paper, we normally do have booklets, so please get something out to write with. This is interactive in that sense. This is what we also do live when we're in person. So I want to give everybody a quick 60 seconds to take a minute to think about and write down your intentions for this next hour. Why are you here? What do you hope to accomplish? Were you here for inspiration or whatever the case may be? So I'm going to set that timer now, and I'll come back as soon as it's done. Got about less than 10 seconds left. All right, end time. So great. I hope you guys now have a clearer vision. Does anybody want to raise your hand really quick and just share what one of your intentions was for this? Feel free to click the raise your hand thing. I think that's what it's called. Or just wave and I'll try to unmute you. Sharifa, did you wave or did you just put your hand up?
My hand up. I'm looking for something.
Okay. All right, all good. I don't see anybody waving, so we'll just dive into goals. So I'm Ian Davis. I'm the founder and principal of Age of the Creative, a creative consulting firm that problem solves for the artist community, providing different resources and opportunities to help them grow their brand and career, like this, Creative Vibes Only, and also working with different brands and corporations, providing problem solving solutions that incorporate really, really dope creatives like Sharifa, like Bridget, etc. So goals, when we think about goal setting, Merriam-Webster defines a goal as the terminal point of a race an area to be reached safely in children's games, or the end towards which effort is directed. So I want to give everybody about 2 or 3 minutes. When you think about your goals, you now just thought about your intentions, why you're here, what you hope to get out of today, right? So let's take a second. Let's take about 2 minutes to write down. I'm going to put another timer on. Let's take about 2 minutes. Think about everything that you want to accomplish as an artist, as a creative, as a creative entrepreneur. I know we have people that are Reiki practitioners on here, musicians, visual artists, etc. Think about everything that you want to accomplish, where you want to go, what you want to do, who you want to work with, money you want to make, etc. And write these things down as you think about them. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do this. What's coming to your mind? Who do you want to work with? Do you want to launch a conference, a festival? Think about these things and write them down. Less than a minute left. And we're back. All right. I think the worst thing about this experience, because we're digital, we don't really get the opportunity. And because this is a condensed version of the Accelerator, we don't get the opportunity to dive in and actually get in real life feedback from everybody here. So as you just took a look at those goals and you wrote those things down, and as you were writing them down, I'm sorry, think about everything that you wanted to accomplish as an artist or creative. Now let's take another, I'm going to give you guys 90 seconds. Let's take another minute and 30 seconds there to think about and review that list of goals. Categorize that list based off of the priority of short, midterm, and long. So short-term goals is what you want to happen immediately within 3 to 6 months. Midterm goals is happening between 6 months and 2 years. And then long-term goals is 2 to 5 years eventually. So I'm going to give you guys 90 seconds. Got about 30 seconds left. And time. So as we just kind of went through those goals, I think that goal setting is important in the creative process. Whether you're working on creating a body of work, whether you're working on launching a new product, whether you're working on an album, something visual, whatever the case may be, goal setting is extremely important. And now I want to dive a little bit into and feature one of our very, very special guests, Ms. Bridget Kelly, and talk a little bit about how goal setting has been important for her, not only in her process, right, just starting out as a little girl, growing up to a young woman in New York City, to the Bridget Kelly now, Grammy Award-Winning artist, amazing person, amazing human. So I just want to have a quick moment to chat with Bridget. Let me see if I can find her and unmute her here. There she is. Got the highlights. I see you. I can't hear you. Hold on. Unmute. Everybody else can go on. I can see your lips moving. Can't hear you. You might have to activate your where it says the mic, hit sound, because you're not muted. Say something. Hear your lips moving. Okay. Okay, so I'm unmuting everybody. Say something now, Bridget. Nope. See your lips moving.
Join with audio.
Yeah, click join with audio, Bridget. Sorry. Nope, not yet. We see your pretty face.
Let's see. Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Perfect. Thanks, BK. Everybody else, if you can mute, I won't mute everybody, but everybody else, if you can mute.
There we go. I figured it out.
Yeah. So Bridget, just give us a few moments to let us know how setting intentions, but then also setting goals. How did that get you to where you are? Like I said, from growing up as a young woman in Chelsea, to then becoming an emerging artist, and going on tour with Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Kelly Clarkson, winning Grammys, crushing it. How's goal setting and intention setting played a big part in your success?
Well, goal setting obviously in any field I think is important, but for me, it's always funny. I love getting this question because my career kind of started backwards. Because I set a lot of goals early on but they were simple. They were really pure because I was a creative. So as a songwriter and as a performer, really, my only goal was to reach people with my voice, write songs that people could relate to and connect with, and be able to tour the world. It was never about money for me. It was never about status for me. It was always just about doing what I love and having a good time and making friends and bringing my friends along the way. That was always the main goal for me. And it all happened very quickly. So, setting out with those intentions very early on as a teenager, I did everything I could in New York to make my name known. And I performed on subway stations, like the platforms. I have my speaker with my microphone. I was down there selling CDs, handing out bumper stickers. And this is like 13, 14 years ago, before we had Instagram, before we had Facebook even, honestly, or at least interactive Facebook. And so, when I signed my first deal with Roc Nation, I was 22 at the time. And literally was signed for like a year, was working on my own music and still writing and still had a job, still doing all that. And then got the opportunity to perform with Jay-Z singing Empire State of Mind on tour. And I did that for about 16 months. And literally, my very first performance ever as a signed artist was at Madison Square Garden in front of a sold out crowd for this 9/11 show that he did that still airs on Fuse.
Wow.
So for that to be right, that was my first show. So it kind of threw a wrench in the we're going to do this grassroots, you know, buy a Winnebago, drive across the country with a band. And it really, I mean, my career was jump-started in that way. And the upsides to that were obviously I was able to have really incredible experience and timeless experience with the greatest rapper of all time. Don't debate me. But the downside to that was I really hadn't done enough artist development, enough work on my artistry to really know what I was gonna need going forward. Like I didn't have anybody mentoring me along the way about being an artist. I learned how to tour. I learned how to maintain myself in terms of performance. I learned about the importance of maintaining relationships, but you know, I really wasn't prepared for a lot of what came at me incredibly fast. And the goal setting, I mean, in that regard, really didn't help me that much because, you know, I was, you know, within the first couple years, the first year or two of even creating music on a professional level, I was literally surrounded by rubbing elbows with running around the world with some of the biggest artists that we know now. So I think overall, the biggest lesson I've learned about goal setting is to be adaptable and be flexible, and understanding that, you know, there's multiple ways and multiple routes to take to get to where you want to go. And I always felt like my voice was my vehicle. My voice was going to be what drove me and helped, you know, keep my place in conversations and in different rooms. And you know, it's kind of transformed and evolved from being just a singer and a songwriter to being an overall conversationalist, right? Music itself, songs are conversations to me. So that part of it for me has kind of allowed me to really transcend beyond just being a creative in a songwriting space, but also be able to push the needle a little bit where conversations are concerned. Because I also came up in an age where you know, there was that firm divide between who you are as a person and who you are as an artist, and having to adapt to the ever-changing and rapidly changing music industry and the digital age. I think it's worked in my favor to be flexible and adaptable where my goals are concerned, and still make sure my bottom line is the same, which is that I still want to be able to engage with my audience and grow my audience via whatever platform is available to me, but also still be creative and still honor myself as an artist.
Yeah, that's amazing. So it's good to know, like, it's good to hear that. I didn't know you played in the subways. I would have loved to see that. And if somebody has that footage, like, we need to get that. We can talk about that on the content section, but I would love to see that. But I think it's great to hear just kind of the trajectory from start to where you are now, and how it's still playing a factor. Is there anything that
Good.
your goals or with your intentions more recently? That's the last question, because we have to jump to the section. Is there anything recent where you're just like, even with this time with COVID-19, where you've had to sit down and figure out your intentions and your goals to now work now to this next phase, because you already have the Grammys, you played MSG, you did all this stuff. So where are you at now in that process?
So now at this point for me, it's taking the reins and doing things myself. So it's always been great to have access to studios outside of my home. I literally just went online the other day and purchased everything that I need for an in-home studio so I can start recording from home, because there's nothing else I can really do. And I feel like I have to get that out. And I have to finish a project. That's one of my short-term goals, is to finish an EP and release an EP, and also collaborate with some artist friends of mine that I think are really incredible. Tiffany Red is one of them. You know, I feel like I really want to complete this project and continue to be creative, because this whole sitting still in the house thing is driving me crazy.
I think it all has us, man. So I'm grateful for everything being here. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, Bridget. We'll hear from you back. I'm gonna go to the next section with Age of the Creative's very own Lance Drummond's on understanding and building your brand.
Hello, everybody hear me? Sweet. Bridget, thanks for the insights, and Ian, thank you for the intro. My name is Lancelot Drummonds. I've been with Age of the Creative for about 2 years now. Before that, I was at American Express. Before that, I was also an independent performing artist. So I have some understanding of how important it is to build your brand as a performing artist, or as a creative for that matter. more broadly speaking. So what we're going to do today, during this section rather, is help differentiate you in a very saturated market. And to Bridget's point about being at home, we have a lot of time. So we have a lot of time to think about who we are, what we want to be, and how to get there. So that's what we'll be kind of going through in this section next. Thank you. So for the next minute, one of the things I'd like to ask you all to do is think about who you are. And the reason that this is important is in a saturated market, we have to differentiate ourselves. But the advantage that we all have is we are ourselves. No one is like us. No one is like you. You have the experiences and the point of view that no one else has, and especially when you think about the combination of life experiences that you've had. So think about, for the next minute, who you are. What are some attributes that you would use to describe yourself? What are some of the tenets or pillars of who you are that you won't change, that you don't want to change? And then also think about, and then we'll get to the next question. So just take 1 minute to do that. About 30 seconds left.
Yeah, and if everybody could just go on mute besides, please.
Okay, and time. So now that you have thought a little bit about who you are, which obviously you'll probably need more time than a minute to think about the depth of it, consider now why you're doing what you're doing. And I you can go back one slide. Yeah, the importance of this is, if anyone has not seen it, I would recommend watching Simon Sinek's TED Talk on the importance of why. It's sort of the origins and the core of what you're doing as the motivation factor to keep you going throughout the process of growing, throughout the process of needing to adapt, throughout the process of maximizing and becoming who you would like to be. So just take another minute to kind of identify why you're doing what you're doing in the space, or in the reason, or what brought you in what you're doing, for why you're a part of a creative community. About 30 seconds left. And time. Okay. So now that you have a little bit of an assessment of who you are, some of the attributes aligned to you, and why you're doing what you're doing, we bucket that into the inner brand. combined, there are a few more questions that you can think about in terms of what tenets or pillars you want to maintain as part of your inner brand. And the reason that that's important is when you think about inner brand, you also think about the outer brand. You can go to the next slide. And understanding who you are and why you're doing what you're doing will help you align to the accomplishments, the collaborations that align with your inner brand in order to help you amplify your impact on the world. And as we're in this is a business, we want to generate income as well. So, doing what you love is great, and also finding the income to do it is also great. So take the next minute to think about, based on who you are, based on why you're doing what you're doing, what are some of the accomplishments and collaborations that align with your inner brand? So 1 minute on that. And time. Okay, so with that, one thing to think about as well, now that you kind of outline some of the accomplishments and collaborations you would like to be a part of your outer brand, just once this is over, think back to what you wrote down during the goal setting section of this. Were there any changes in your goals or accomplishments or collaborations based on identifying who you are, based on identifying why you're doing what you're doing? And understand those differences and then sort of gravitate towards what's driving you and based on who you are as well. I would also say one last thing to do is break down those accomplishments, break down those collaborations and those goals into small componentable parts that you can each accomplish on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, so that you're always moving forward, driving towards the inner and outer brand that you desire. So with that, I'd like to take some time to interview Sharifa Murdock, successful, obviously, in building a brand and a business as a creative. Let me just make sure I get her. There she is. All right. Sharifa, are you unmuted? I see your lips moving, but I don't hear anything.
She should be good now.
Sharifa, if you, there
You hear
we go. Yep, there we go.
Okay,
Thumbs
cool.
high. Sweet. So I have two questions for you, and they obviously relate to building a brand. So as a co-founder and advocate of mentorships, a constant collaborator in the fashion industry, when you think about ways to magnify your brand and its impacts and the brands you're part, not only yours individually, but the ones you're a part of, what do you look for when in potential partnerships and collaborations when they present themselves?
I think the first thing I look for is if it's a right fit, right? I'm always big on aligning with the right brands to make sure the impact is more bigger than it needs to be. It depends on which company you're speaking about, because we have 4, which is interesting. Within the fashion space, it's about finding brands that complement you, that you feel like, we can help take each other to the next level. When it comes to Envsn, it's kind of more in a different realm of finding brands that are going to assist in building the culture and the community of who we're trying to basically come into contact with.
Got it. And then just one follow-up on that. Yep, I heard you. One follow-up on specifically for you and your brand, Sharifa Murdock's brand. How do you identify those who you want to partner with or collaborate with? Specifically, if you can talk a little bit about how you knew your co-founder was the right co-founder for you to help you accomplish one of the things you envisioned. No pun intended.
I think the first thing you have to figure out is like, are you going to get along with that person for a while, right? Because you want to make sure you're partnering with someone that you respect, someone that holds the same kind of value and morals that you do. For me, it was about looking for a person that I can build with and that I trusted. Trust is a big thing for me because, you know, we're in an industry where a lot of people are out for themselves half the time. So I wanted to find a co-founder that basically I've known for a long time. Basically, he was my mentor for many years, and he's been always there to support me. So I wanted to make sure and align with him in the same way.
Got it. Thank you for that. Okay, so then the other question I had is, as someone who believes in being 10 steps ahead or you're behind, how do you reconcile ensuring your brand is nimble, adjusting to the world around it, but also remaining consistent, signaling that you can be reliable and that you're truthful in who you are?
Got it. I am a huge planner. I plan everything out. So, I mean, this situation here that we're all in, I don't think anyone could have planned for this, but particularly I plan to the fact where I always want to be, like you said, 10 steps ahead. And I think years along the way. I don't just plan for today. Like a lot of people like live their lives for today. I plan 5 years out. I know what I physically want to be doing 5 years from now. And I write everything down. I'm a person, I'm very old school with it. I have a pen, I have a paper. I write out my future, basically. I draw it out in a book. I bullet journal a lot. I speak to people that I trust about the things that I want to do and my goals and aspirations. And honestly, I mean, I've been doing this for years and it's all come to fruition. It's a big part of my life is where I sit down and write everything down that I want, because I feel like you need to first be able to verbalize and speak about and vision what you want, right? You got to vision what you think you're going to be doing. And that's the only way this works. And I also don't plan with malintentions. Like I plan on just being sincere. I don't plan with, if I do this, I'm going to get this. I always plan with, I just want to do this. I don't say, I don't make plans like, okay, if I do this today, that means I'm going to make this amount of money. I never plan around that, because if I do that, then it's just not something that I have any interest in. And I know that it doesn't excite me as much if I'm having to do things just on a financial basis. So it has to be with thought and intent and things that I want, I believe in, and that I align myself with.
Couldn't have said it better. In terms of the intention, in terms of the alignment, I think you've just reiterated the point as to, it's important to understand who you are, what you want. And I think you also reiterated to Ian's section about goal setting. How do you break those goals down that align to you into, as you sound like you plan often, so into the componentable parts. So thank you for your responses on that. And it's been great talking to you as well.
No, thank you for having me. This was really great.
Thank you, Sharifa. Thank you so much. And,
no problem.
I'm going to go to the next section with Kyle. So we'll unmute Kyle. Or you shouldn't be muted, Kyle, but.
Hey, can everyone hear me? We good now? Okay. Hey, what's going on, y'all? I'm Kyle Harvey. I am part of the content team over at Age of the Creative. And today we're going to be talking about storytelling. A little bit about my background. I am probably the only journalist on the team, but someone who understands identifying how to speak and to speak with purpose. I think a lot of people in the content space right now, especially considering that the coronas and the apocalypse is happening right now, people don't know how to speak and communicate with presence. So as we look through our slide right here, developing your content, your storytelling, I want to focus on something pretty specific when it comes to, how my world is when it comes to communicating, because I feel at times if you're able to write a good email, you should be able to go ahead and be able to lead or be able to communicate properly. So in my opinion, think pieces, blogs, none of it really matters without clarity in your goals or objectives. And the sooner you identify your objectives, the faster you'll gain confidence in how you communicate with your audience. You know, and again, this virus, the biggest takeaway from this section is finding your active voice. Now we're going to get a little grammar, but your active voice is basically the most common way we talk to people when it's in spoken in the written English language, and is generally considered to be the default voice. And even Sharifa, the way she was speaking, a lot of the way she was talking and communicating is with her active voice. You know, so an example of someone speaking in their active voice: she secured the bag, versus the house was bought by an older person. That is a passive voice. You know, it doesn't really inspire. It's kind of like a lax sentence. You know, it doesn't immediately communicate directly with what your purpose is when it comes to that. So for me, I always wanted to make sure that when we're talking about utilizing that presence in your voice, you know, because if you're not able to talk, how are you going to expect your audience, and more importantly, future brands or possible followers, how they're going to go ahead and reach out to you? So I want to do one exercise, you know, something that is only going to take 2 minutes or less. And that's basically, I want you to go ahead and have a stream of conscious thought. What are some of the words that are associated with you and where you're trying to be at? And I want you to write this down in a note, maybe take some time to think about it. I'll put the running clock on. Let's do 90 seconds. And I want you to just write it out. You know, whatever comes, you can draw, you can Google, you can doodle, anything that is aligned with you. Let's just see what some of the takeaways are. So let's get the thing running. So go. Now, if I cheat a little bit, don't mind me. I just set my timer maybe like 15 seconds ago. So just give me a minute. Got 30 seconds. Boom. So one of the things that I write, obviously I did this before, but one of the things that always comes up with me is, you know, I don't want to ever have fear in when I speak. And I don't want to ever let my words get in the way of, you know, things being lost in translation. So if you can go ahead and share maybe a few of your words or things that are aligned or things that are not really clicking with you, maybe you can go ahead and take away some of the words that we don't want associated with where we're trying to go. You know, I mean, negativity is something that we don't necessarily honor, but when it comes to how we speak with purpose, we always want to make sure that we isolate the positive things. So on the other side of fear is confidence. As someone who, when I did this exercise before, my goal is to always tell authentic stories. And if you're not able to go ahead and align that with, you know, whether it be a story, whether it be a journalistic endeavor, you know, I realize a lot of time we go ahead and say words that may have way too many syllables and just being frankly indirect. If you notice right now, a lot of the things that you're seeing on blog posts, the things that you're seeing on IG, any words that get in the way of that, you know, they're being removed. You're seeing more words on captions or on the pictures more than time in itself, because we don't have enough time. So if you're going to honor that just to bring people in, you want to go ahead and have less context, less words to get in the way of the feeling. It's like lyrics. You know, sometimes finding that happy medium of having enough emotion as well with the words that are behind it, you're going to be able to resonate well with your audience. So take that in mind. And at this point in time, I would like to go ahead and, talk to Bridget about some of the things that she's learned in her storytelling endeavors, because her native platform, which I would say would be singing and also songwriting. I guess one of my biggest questions was, when you were going through and basically working backwards, where did you realize that you were able to go ahead and take your audience and things that you collaborated with? How were you able to transfer that into some of the hosting and some of the other things that you've done post Rock Nation, post your time there?
Am I unmuted?
You are. You're good.
Okay, cool. So something that I wrote down pertaining to active voice which I mean is something I've always taken pride in, is my vocal tone, right? Something that sets us apart, and something that Lancelot also mentioned too, that makes you an individual, is speaking with conviction, speaking with a level of boldness.
Right.
And I have an unpopular opinion about what I think a lot of what we're taught as a kid, which is usually it's not about how you start, it's how you finish. And for me, as a songwriter and also as a person, sometimes how you start can impact how you finish.
Right.
And so, whereas a song structure is concerned, the opening line of a song is what's going to captivate you, right? We're always told that, especially now, because everybody has such short attention spans.
Right.
We have about between 7 and 9 seconds to capture somebody with the song before they either check out or they change the channel if it's on the radio or on television. You have 7 to 9 seconds to captivate somebody. And so the opening line and the opening sentence of a song matters just as much as the catchiness of the hook matters.
Right. Because you got to get them there, right? You got to get them to the hook, to the feeling, right?
Absolutely, but you can't give them everything at once. You know what I mean? You can kind of tease. I mean, I would use Whitney Houston's "I Will Always Love You" as a perfect rendition, because she starts off holding that one line, that one word, that one note for a long enough time that you're like, wait a minute, where is this going? And you're locked in just off the rip. And then obviously it's all fireworks after that.
She's pretty good. She was pretty good, right?
Yeah, she was all right. She was above average. Yeah, I think that's being self-sufficient. I think something that Sharifa mentioned that's also really powerful in terms of storytelling and identifying with who you are and being able to evolve is really being self-sufficient and figuring things out on your own. And like you said, now more than ever, it's becoming clear who is going to be able to survive and evolve and really transcend beyond this period of time where we're all quarantined and limited to resources. But something that I always tell my friends and always try to tell myself and reaffirm every day is that I have everything that I need, whether it's a skill, whether it's a resource, whether it's the access to a resource or the access to the information. I feel like I always have what I need. And reminding myself of that daily also allows me to come up with different troubleshooting and preparation planning ideas in order to really get myself and the people around me and my team to the next step.
That's beautiful. I mean, to piggyback on what you just said, though, I mean, like, less is more. And I mean that in a way where I think, we tend to go ahead and think volume is important. It shows that we actually are authorities when we talk about it. That sometimes is not the case. Recently we did an interview with Royce the 5'9", and he even said it himself. He has no and if anyone who's not familiar with Royce, this is like an MC's MC. Someone who's a student of his craft, someone who takes pride anytime he touches the pen. He's a competitor. But more importantly, though, he said it himself. He has no respect for sentence structure. His process is his process of its own. Sometimes the hook comes first. Sometimes the first verse comes before that. But ultimately, he's putting things in a pocket and he's owning his process. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that's going to separate people, because if you did the exercise, whether it makes you uncomfortable asking these questions about yourself. Lance's exercise, the first time I read this, it hurt my feelings because I didn't know exactly where I was coming from except with my brand. But I promise you, when you write it down, like Sharifa mentioned, you have no choice but to go. You can't go back from that because it's already in the atmosphere. So how do we go ahead and build on that moving forward? And I think that's ultimately when it comes to content and storytelling, simplifying that. Because who am I and who is anyone else to go ahead, and especially in a world where streaming, there's so many ways to go ahead and get information and data. There's a niche. I don't want anyone ever feel like there's not a place for the content to live at. It's just a matter of you owning your space and living in your niche. Because I think people tend to go ahead and think that they're, sports term, they think they're 5-tool players. They're able to do everything really, really well at once. And that's not what it is. You can work out like an athlete, but sometimes you don't have the talent. But that doesn't mean that grind, and more importantly, sharpening your iron when it comes to your actual craft, that comes to repetition. And more importantly, once you figure out what that is, then you're going to be in a position to succeed. So, I think, Bridget, one more question I would like to ask you is some of the people that you've been around, because you touched, if you're working with Hov, that means at times you may have worked with the sound engineer. You might have been near Young Guru, someone who's behind the scenes. So are there certain things in those processes that you've gleaned that are able to be applied in other things that you do?
I think it's to always understand as a creative, especially as an artist, and you can appreciate this as a journalist as well. You're always a fan first. You're always a student. There's never a moment where even at your peak where you've mastered everything. Something that I remember being around Jay was really that he was reading constantly. Whether it's articles, it's newspapers, it's news blogs, doing crossword puzzles. There was never a moment where he was not sharpening his tools and really being prepared for whatever whether it was the next album or the next financial endeavor, investment. There's always room to learn and always room to grow. And I think sometimes we forget that when we are really great at one thing, you know what I mean? And we get stuck in our ways sometimes, especially as artists, where we feel like we're successful in one avenue and we don't really need to work on other things. I think that's over the last 5 or 6 years, that's been the biggest lesson as an artist, is to understand that multiple streams of revenue is vital. It's crucial. It's crucial to maintaining your sanity, first of all, but also maintaining a space and really holding your own. And to answer your question a bit more vividly, about merging that, I think understanding who you are and understanding what value you bring to the table in every room, those things are not interchangeable. The things that are foundation core values as a creative person, as a host. Even I think my disposition in most of the platforms that I've participated on has always been about empowering women and being honest about where we are and being honest about how we feel. And as an artist, I feel like my mission has always been to tell stories for people that either A, don't know that they feel the way that they feel, they don't know that they can relate, and B, understanding that if not those people, then it's the people that are too afraid to tell the truth and afraid to speak up. And I think that knowing those two things about myself as an artist has made me, a lot less, in my opinion, a lot less dispensable to most of these outlets.
No, that's real. I think that's be the biggest takeaways. And this is an exercise, again, like anytime you feel like, life is kicking you in the chest or you're just not on point, just refer back to the words that are right there, because some things you may be interchangeable, you may evolve from that. But, the biggest thing though is understanding that you have a starting point and you can't go back from that. Also, like, again, what Sharifa was talking about of, doing things with purpose and passion, the things that are aligned with just your core values. Because again, that's something that a lot of people, again, get lost in the sauce in the sense of just not understanding, who they are. Like, are you doing this for the glory, or are you actually doing it because there's something in there that can't be bought? And I feel like a lot of things right now, especially in media, a lot of content, because content is a buzzword. We're in a position right now to really leverage your cultural currency to go ahead and put yourself in a position to succeed. So this is pretty much the end of my segment right now. I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that when it comes to speaking, even the way we're talking right now, that is okay. Do not feel like you have to be academia, appropriate. Maybe writing isn't your medium, but doing these exercises right here should not invalidate how you feel. We want to always empower you and put you in a position to win.
We're running a little bit behind, so I want to stay on track and get to our next section with Sade. So thank you, Kyle, and we'll have something for everybody to chime in with Kyle. So I'll just kick it over to our very own digital brand strategist and digital brand marketing strategist, Ms. Sade Council, who will be leading the digital footprint and creating your value section.
Hello, everybody. Thank you guys for joining and hanging out with us today. As Ian mentioned, we're running a little bit low on time, so I'm going to try to speed through my upfront, but essentially I've been with AOTC for 2 years. I've also worked at different agencies and brands over the course of my 13 plus year career. I've worked at American Express as well. I've worked at L'Oreal for Carol's daughter. And as I mentioned, a bunch of other agencies. So always doing digital and social media marketing. And so have a lot of knowledge to share. And I'll start by saying that social media, a lot of times people lose sight of the fact that it's really about relationship building. It's about creating a value exchange to sustain a relationship. And so when you think about your social media presence or any digital presence for that matter, whether it's a newsletter or a podcast or a blog post or something like that, you have to think about what kind of value that your target audience or your followership is going to be gleaning from this information. You can't just be on a platform just to be on it. You have to make sure that you're actually providing them reasons to come back and to continue to like you and follow you and be loyal to you and then advocate for you on your behalf. So what I want to talk about too is that since Kyle was just mentioning Sharifa's point about purpose and having passion, purpose with regard to social media and digital marketing is about adding value to your consumers' lives. So it's about being authentic with your purpose, and it'll scale when it feels real. So it's not necessarily about thinking about how can I get the most followers the fastest. It's about how can I do something with an authentic purpose that people could latch onto and really feel like it's authentic to me. And that resonates deeper than anything else that you can fabricate or strategize with a brainstorm and a session with anybody. Like you being true to yourself and understanding what your reason for doing any of this is will come through naturally if it's authentic. So making sure that that's coming through on all your digital platforms is also super important. So one of the things I'd also like to talk about is just doing a quick exercise of who do you follow and what value are you getting from following them. So right now, I'd love to just give you guys a minute, 60 seconds to think about the people that you're currently following, the newsletters you're currently subscribed to, the blog posts you read every day, the podcasts you listen to. What value do you get from them and why? And I'm going to start the timer now. About 15 seconds left. All right. So with that, I just want to invite you to continue to think about, you know, as we're home quarantined, we're getting like an inundation of content, right? And this is a prime time to really evaluate, like really take stock of who are the people you're following. Are they giving you energy? Are they giving you value? Are they making you feel more anxious? Are like what kind of exchange are they providing you? And are they giving you reason to continue following them, or are they turning you off? And then in turn, you should think about what kind of content are you putting out. And this is an unprecedented time for all of us. So there's no really right way to do anything right now. But as we think about just creating your own brand and bringing that to life in these digital spaces, you should also be thinking about what value do you yourself want to provide to your audience. And the way I love to bucket it is in 4 kind of categories. Are you entertaining? Are you finding inspiration from them? Are you getting educated by them? Or are they providing you some type of utility? So utility could mean like they're telling you about a discount or a sale, or they are telling you how to do something or where to find something. They're giving you something useful, something that you can immediately put into action. And I think that's important to think about, because when we think about marketing in general, or why we want people to follow us in general, it's about moving them to action, like trying to get them to do something. So in Bridget's case, is going to be, I want to get them to listen to my songs, and I want to get them to buy my records or to stream my records. Like that's probably her end goal. Or I want these people to come to my event that I'm hosting. And then in Sharifa's case, it's how do I build a network of people, of like-minded individuals that want to come out to Envsn. That's really gonna, like, how do I duplicate the audience that I've built online and bring it into the real world? But if you think about just the types of content and the types of stories that you're telling, try to fit it into one of these 4 buckets, and I promise you it's gonna be a way better way to engage your audience if you think about providing value in one of these 4 ways. So I'll give you guys 30 seconds to kind of think about what buckets your content currently falls into, and then where you may want to start tapping into that you're not currently. So we'll start that now. Oh, stop. We're done. I gave you about 45 seconds, actually. So we'll move into our next section. And Sharifa had to hop off. She had an emergency call to take care of. So BK, it's going to be you and I, if that's okay. And we're just going to talk a little bit about what are some ways that you've seen social media and digital marketing work for you specifically? And like, why is it an important part of your platform as a creative?
Well, I think every avenue to connect to my audience is important. I think, like you said, the importance is the authenticity of the how and the what versus just saying something or making a presentation just for the sake of doing it. Something that I've been passionate about that did not really present itself as an opportunity to connect in the last couple of years was fitness. And more recently, in the last year and a half or so, a bunch of my friends and I have come up with different hashtags that, are accountability hashtags is what we call them. Okay. So we'll tag, did you eat yet? Did you go in? Did you get to the gym? Did you run? And then I've added my own hashtag, which is if you didn't sweat, you didn't count. And did some merch in association with that, and then remixed it to Sweat Make It Count, which is what I have on right now.
Nice plug.
Yeah. We have to. And these, they're available on my Linktree on my Instagram as well. But I think for me overall as an artist, the most important ways to connect to an audience in an authentic way are to really discuss the things that matter to me. But also figure out who my audience is overall, right? Knowing who your audience is, I think also helps you establish and develop a value system as to how you want to connect, right? You have to know who you're speaking to. You can't just make up something out the blue and just throw it out there. So for me, for the most part, my audience is a lot of women. I have a lot of women that follow me, especially women of color, Black women. To me, that's really where I see myself as, trying to incorporate different ways to promote health and wellness, to promote creativity as well, to obviously promote being an active voice. But I think for me, that's really been an incredible means of connecting to my audiences, to motivate them to take better care of themselves. It's not about fitting any other standard other than holding yourself accountable, setting your own individual goal, and finding your tribe, finding like-minded people that want to work out. You know what I mean? To me, the sweat portion of it, I came up with that because I feel like when you sweat, that's an indication of your effort, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's nobody else is watching. It's not about looking a certain way. It's not about weighing a certain amount. If you sweat after a workout, you accomplished something. You got out there, you exerted yourself, you pushed yourself past your limit. And that to me is valuable and meaningful. And to continue to push and encourage my followers and my fans in that way is really, really important to me.
I love that. And I love what you said about, you know, understanding the importance of understanding who your audience is, because I think so many times people will get on these platforms and have a goal in mind or know what kind of content they want to push out, but they literally just push and they don't listen. And I think, I mean, social media is such a unique space because you literally have a live feedback loop. They tell you what they like right away, and they will tell you what they don't like right away. So I think it's important to not be tone deaf and to listen to them and understand, just even looking at the analytics, like look at what's resonating, what's getting more likes, what's not, who's tuning into your stories and when and what time, and just, you know, playing with those levers can make all the difference. And I think just it's literally supply and demand. It's the oldest marketing trick in the book. Give people more of what they want. So I'm glad that you were able to tap in and see that not only something that you were passionate about, which is fitness and wellness, is really resonating with your audience, and then you were able to, you know, ratchet that up and give them more of that and motivate them. That's awesome. So that was my kind of question. And again, we're running low on time, so I want to be respectful of that. Ian, did you want to add something else? Or
one quick question for the both of you. Sade, you know, Sade hates when I refer to her as the digital queen, but she really knows what she's talking about. Somebody's opinion that I respect highly and value. So it's a question for both Sade and Bridget. Like, what are you seeing right now, like pre-COVID-19? What are you seeing online, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, etc., or just regularly on the internet? Like, what are you seeing online that you think works, or just even that you like, that you're a fan of, as far as like people creating value and making their social work for them? So I guess, Sade, I'll ask you first and then kick it to Bridget.
Okay, well, I mean, I think pre-COVID, obviously TikTok was really taking off in a big way. I think Gen Z has really latched onto it, but they've also found unique ways to like integrate their parents and you know, different members of their family into the TikToks, which I think is really dope, because it's really proving that, you know, anybody can get involved, and maybe you might not, as a mom or as, you know, an older member of the family, have your own TikTok account, but you can still use that as a way to like bond with your daughter, with your son, with your other members of the family. And I think that's really cool, because it shows that it's not just for them, it's for everybody. And I think that especially now, post-COVID, we're seeing all of these challenges pick up way even more. And we're seeing people just get a lot of joy from just tapping into these dances and these challenges and finding new ways to engage and keep themselves busy and share their passion. So I think we're not going to see TikTok go away anytime soon. And the other thing, I mean, the obvious is, you know, with everybody going live, just way more people got so much time on their hands and so much talent and information to share. And I think people are just taking advantage of the fact that literally everybody is at home right now. And so you have a captive audience, legit. And it's like, why not, you know, try to maximize the digital environment from your home. And I hope this continues post-COVID as well, because I mean, it's just demonstrating how, as long as you have an internet connection and a device that's relatively, you know, up to date, you can really connect with a lot of people and really impact a lot of people emotionally in a way that's really powerful. So that's what I've been seeing.
BK?
Pre-COVID, I mean, to me, it's definitely TikTok. I mean, TikTok has catapulted beyond what I think anybody was going to expect. And I think, you know, like Sade said, at this point, it's really dope to watch the generational connections on all these different videos, because you get to see full families doing it. It's kids, it's parents, it's, you know, it's random friends in their kitchen dancing. And I think that's really dope. I think that's a lot of fun. And I don't see that going away anytime soon. The thing that I love about this, though, is about what's going on within, you know, this quarantine lifestyle that we've all had to adapt to, is watching D-Nice, who I've known since the very beginning of my career, watching him go from 200 something thousand followers to going to 1.5 million in a matter of a day and a half, 36 hours. All through doing a live stream of a DJ set that he has probably done for every single event that we've been to, at least one event a year that I've been to for the last decade and longer. And watching him be able to make the most of his craft, of his time, and be able to grow and reach his audience in that kind of a way and establish such an incredible means of connectivity for all the people that have tuned in. You know what I mean? I mean, from celebrities to, you know, everyday people. It's incredible to watch, and I'm proud. I'm impressed. I'm honored to say I know him personally. You know what I mean? I think those moments are really, I think those are the moments that kind of give us some hope and some reprieve from you know the monotony that we're all just like trying to escape so badly in our homes.
And I think what's so beautiful about that too, is that it goes back to exactly what we were all talking about. Like, he didn't do anything different than what he's already been doing. People just got hip to it. So stay the course. If I could give y'all any takeaway, I would just say stay the course. Keep doing what you love, what makes you happy, what you will be doing anyway. And just slowly people will start to get hip and get invited to the party. You just got to stay the course, because the audience that you want is the people that are going to naturally gravitate to you, not the people that's just coming just because it's hot for the moment. Or because, like, word of mouth is always going to be like the biggest form of engagement and growing your audience. And so just do what you love. And I promise you, you're going to find, as Bridget was saying, your tribe, people of like-minded individuals that really resonate with what you're doing and are going to just come. So that would take away from the D Nice piece.
Absolutely. And I launched a poll too. We're going to wrap up in like these next 2 minutes. I'm so grateful for everybody joining in. And even like with this, right? This is our first time going digital. So this is totally an experiment for Age of the Creative. We do like to have this experience live and in person. But as Sade said, as Bridget said, we've had to adapt and figure out how we can still serve you guys. So everybody that's been here, all 30 something people, right? Whether it's 30 people or 300, everybody that's here, you guys wanted to invest your time, you're supposed to be here, and you'll take value from it. So if it has been valuable for you, please, 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 I just launched the poll. So if you're in the app or if you're on the computer, please just participate and let us know. Also, just a quick word, we were going to do this live. Kind Snacks was a sponsor of ours that we were going to do this live with at Lululemon here in the city. And they launched because we're celebrating Women's History Month and amazing women like Bridget and Sharifa, they were donating some Kind Snacks for everybody to sample and stuff like that. But because of COVID-19, they've had to pivot that for Women's History Month and just the petition that they have. So if you guys do go on the creativevibesonly.splashthat.com or whatever the link is, I think that's it. You'll see it there. You can donate. And also right here's just like their call to action. However you guys can help, if you guys want to make a donation, ping me on the side and let me know. I am going to put up my email on this next slide. And if anybody, I know some people are filling out the poll right now and saying some of this information is helpful. Some people need more. Here's everybody in our crew that you've seen so far, right? Lance Drummond's, he obviously specializes in the marketing, branding, strategic partnerships, and just general strategy, as we all do. I myself, I work with a lot one-on-one with creatives like Bridget, like Sharifa, right? The artists that really, really need the support to grow their brand and career on that business development strategy and advising. Sade, as you guys just kind of know, is the queen there. Brand strategy, digital storytelling, best practices on social media, which she just kind of gave you guys. Continue doing what you're doing. And then Kyle as well, right? You see all of our emails there, and Kyle specializes in that sort of copy editing, just trained as a journalist, and then editorial and content strategy in the production realm. So if you guys do want to continue to chat with us, for those that do need more, here's where you can find us. Feel free to please email me or just email info@ageofthecreative.com. And then also on top of that, if you do want to set up a one-on-one, we'll figure something out. Like maybe, I'll talk with Sade since she knows the best practices. I don't know, maybe we do an IG live or just a quick 5-10 minute like coffee hour. You can ask her 1 or 2 questions. If you guys do want to set up a half hour, if you do want to set up an hour to talk through any of your challenges, here's where you go. I don't know if we're gonna, strip down the costs or whatever the case may be. We'll figure something out, because I know everybody's going through a difficult time right now with COVID. So go to ageofthecreative.com / I think book. to set up a one-on-one with any one of us, should you want to just chat further for those that do need more information. And Bridget, I'm so grateful for you for joining us and taking your time. I do want to see, in addition to those workout videos, I do want to see the subway videos. So
I don't know any actual footage of those, being honest. I mean, that was like, man, 2007, 6. I don't think there's any footage that far back, but I'm sure there's footage of like Village Underground, random open mic nights and things like that somewhere that we'll find.
Okay.
I'll have Gia dig in the archives for that.
Okay, perfect. And again, guys, if you guys need help with anything, please do email us. Let us know whatever we can help with. Thank you, guys. Thank everybody so much for all of your time. Please do fill out the survey. And if you have any other comments or feedback for us, just let us know. And if you want to see this again, we do have ones of wellness and we can continue to do other things like that. We don't know how long we're all going to be inside. So if you guys do have any other ideas or just things that you want from Age of the Creative, don't hesitate to reach out. Any last words, Lance, Kyle, anything I missed? Bridget, other than adding you at I am Bridget Kelly on social, anything else you want to promote? Anything else happening other than your shirts, your sweatshirts and sweating? All right, cool. Well, that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining. Looking forward to building with everybody all, and have a good day and be safe.